Speaker.
The Honourable Ruth Dyson.
Mr Speaker, at this peak viewing and listening time, there's always fierce competition for a member to get the call, and I'm just so delighted that you chose me ahead of my friend and colleague from Christchurch, Dennis O'Rourke. He will have a much less interesting time with far fewer listeners and viewers, I'm sure, when he's able to take the call. Like others, I'm pleased to be able to talk in the second reading of the Statutes Amendment Bill. It's a bill that the committee which I'm privileged to chair had the opportunity to scrutinise, and I want to just acknowledge three members of that committee who are no longer on the committee, two of whom are no longer in Parliament, Eric Roy and Chris Okenvold, and of course Kamaljit Singh Bakshi is still in Parliament but unfortunately no longer in our committee. The member who I think very bravely subjected the House to 10 minutes speech on a bill that everyone agrees on should also be commended as the current Deputy Chair of the Government Administration Committee. I'm enjoying working with her and I hope to do so for many years to come. Mr Speaker, as has been pointed out, Statutes Amendment Bill has the agreement of Parliament. It's interesting to notice then that this is being filibustered by the National Party members of Parliament. They're filibustering a bill that every single member of Parliament agrees with. We couldn't get the government to give us a vote on sending 140 young New Zealanders to Iraq, but here we are filibustering a bill that every single member of Parliament agrees with. It's all about priorities. It's all about what's important. I would have thought having a robust debate on what has to be the biggest responsibility of a government, deciding to put someone else's life at risk, not your own life, someone else's. So we didn't get a vote on that, but here we are filibustering this at 10 o'clock at night. Mr Speaker, some of the statutes that this bill amends are really interesting. And again, it is all about priorities. I notice one of them is the Antarctica Environmental Protection Biosecurity Act 1993. And again, it's about priorities. Here we have a Queensland fruit fly infestation causing huge concern to the communities that my colleague Damien O'Connor spoke about in question time today. Nothing on the order paper to boost up our biosecurity for our own country, but here we are amending legislation to give better protection to Antarctica. I'm pleased we're doing that. I just wish that the government hadn't cut back millions of dollars and lots of staff to our own biosecurity teams, because that protection is one of the most important things that New Zealand can do. And again, it's a core government responsibility to protect not just our citizens, the young people who serve in our defence forces, but also, of course, our agriculture and horticultural sector. So there's 33 acts that are amended, and these, I think about half of them, were previously the responsibility of the Honourable Judith Collins before she was moved out of Cabinet. I know that members generally talk about how these bills are to allow for minor technical changes. Actually, they're mistakes that previous ministers have made with legislation, and I've had some in my own name that I've been responsible for, and I've thought, how on earth did that get through? Well, it's because you don't take enough care, to be honest, and that has happened. 33 pieces of legislation in this amendment, which is far more than you'd normally expect. It goes from the Animal Welfare Act in Clause 1 right through to the Wildlife Act in Part 33. So every one of those amendments, Mr Speaker, has got sometimes quite substantive, but not substantive enough to breach the requirements that our committee rigorously adheres to in terms of appropriateness of a statutes amendment, but also obviously doesn't have any policy matters. Otherwise, it wouldn't be able to be in this bill. Policy matters can't be in a statutes amendment bill. It's unusual to have this many in one piece of legislation, but I certainly look forward to its further progress. Mr Speaker, you have the air of someone who's about to curtail my contribution to this debate, and I don't want this to happen. I was keen on making a full contribution, as have every member of the National Party who
Time
has
has come for me to leave the chair. This debate is interrupted and set down for resumption next sitting day, and the House stands adjourned until 2 p.m. tomorrow. Good evening.